Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another show. If it is your first time tuning in, welcome to a Firm Child podcast. My name is Mr. Fingers, and today we have the most awesome and amazing gentleman. As you can see, he has an awesome and a beautiful smile himself. This is Riatlehile Mangope. He is an oral hygienist. He's such a phenomenal human being. Welcome to the show, Riatlehile.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fingers. I'd say it's actually an honor to be here today with you, and I'm excited to be on the platform. I'm excited to share my knowledge that I've gained from the tertiary education that I've received, and I look forward to giving back to the Black community.
100%. Just to start it off from my side, I wanted to know what made you decide to take on becoming an oral hygienist, dentist, basically. What made you take that career path? I mean, it's something that some of us don't know about, but what made you decide to go that path?
It's actually a funny story. Before I applied for oral hygiene, I actually tried to do pharmacy. Although my grade 11 results were not as promising, so I had to neglect that dream. And then what actually motivated me to do oral hygiene was I do have like an uncle who's a dentist. So he once actually gave me my first team in 2017. So I reflected back to that, and then I realized I grew up with bad teeth. I was the ugly duckling in the family. And all my parents had good teeth. Even my older brother has a good smile too. So, and then the moment I realized I can't get into pharmacy, I went back to that moment when he actually gave me my teeth cleaning. And I was like, okay, you know what? Since I can't go to the pharmaceuticals and work drugs, how about I actually try to branch into working with teeth? And so one morning I decided, okay, I'm going to apply to the University of Pretoria. And then I chose oral hygiene as my first option. I couldn't do dentistry, so I neglected that. I was like, okay, it's fine. At least if I can start somewhere, oral hygiene could be a stepping stone, and then from there I should see where the journey takes me. So I'd say the motivation was behind getting my first dental clean.
It's actually beautiful. This is amazing, man. So you also mentioned the very important thing that I think you said your uncle, you also got motivated from having that person, a role model like that as well into your life. How important it is from that perspective, since you said, you've seen that with your own eyes. How important do you think it is to have a role model, especially when you're a child or yourself, when you're about to choose a role model? How important do you think that is?
I think it's very significant in the sense that you in Black communities, we tend to not realize the impact of what role models can do. Some people don't even know what is a role model. So I feel like having that first-hand exposure and experience is quite significant into shaping the type of future and reality that you'd want to have. So I'd say there's many children out there who are parentless, who lack that role model in their life. So I feel like one person can literally change your life, and just the effort from them actually makes a big difference. So I'd say it's very important to have an ideal role model in your life. It might not even be somebody who's in the same career aspirations that you want to pursue. It could be somebody totally different, but just their morals, values, and principles, I'd say they could also just have a great impact. So yes, it's very important.
It's actually beautiful. I like that, man, because I also feel like it's important for everybody, especially for kids, to have a right role model into their life and person, and somebody which they can see an image of, a mirror of as well. Especially now, since there's technology all over the place, it's easy for kids to have role models. I mean, books can also be role models. Television and all the YouTubers can be role models as well. Quick one. What is the most common dental issue that you've seen that most people, suffer from, or that you've actually came across?
Tricky, right? Okay,
maybe name me two. Yeah, I want to say maybe name me two.
That'll
be fine.
Okay, Okay, so when it comes to dentistry, the challenge is lack of knowledge, right? Lack of knowledge. So in the elderly, I'd say the common problem that they have is severe periodontal disease, which is basically like an inspection of your tooth structures, the supporting structures. That's why most elderly, they have like false teeth. Some of them don't even have like all a full set of their teeth. So in the elderly, I've realized they suffer most with that condition. And when it comes to children, I'd say cavities and adolescents as well. I'd say those two are like really the common problems that we see in dentistry from the day to day. So cavities and basically like gum infection.
This is very interesting because one of the things which I feel like also, because as parents, probably a parent is sitting there and they're trying to figure out, okay, probably my child might be suffering from cavity and all these things, or they want to prevent that from happening. But what is the appropriate age to take a child to go see a oral hygienist or a dentist?
It's a very interesting question, and I feel like this is something all parents need to know, and people who are also good counseling like before they start parenthood. So it's very important to take a child to see a dentist the moment the first tooth grows, and that's usually the central incisor on the bottom jaw. They usually start with those two. So most parents assume, okay, it's the first baby teeth, so I'm just gonna wait until the full set grows and then I might consider taking my child to the dentist, or they might wait for the problems to arise. But actually, according to what I've learned and my former lecturers, what they told me is that it's important that from the moment the first tooth grows, you have to actually get into the habit of taking the child to the dentist, even if it's just a normal checkup, so that the dentist or the hygienist can also give you education as to, okay, the teeth, the child is going to be teething. Of course, here's what's going to happen. The gums are going to get irritated. They're going to be itchy. The child is going to cry, just to prevent all those sorts of complications. Also, to give education with regards to bottle feeding or breastfeeding, because what most parents aren't aware of, letting your child sleep with a bottle inside their mouth or letting them sleep too long while breastfeeding. Usually that substance, covers the teeth, and then over time, if the child gets used to that, that's actually what starts developing the cavity. That's why it's common to sometimes see somebody who's in grade one or even you see that they have like teeth that have light discoloration on them or a forming of cavity that's developing. So I'd say it's from the first tooth that grows, it's important, and then you can just keep a regular 6 month visit, as the teeth keep on growing. And I feel like the child will also get into the habit of seeing the dentist, which will reduce the fear of actually being on a dental care. Because children are scared of dentists. They actually don't like
I'm
them.
scared of dentists,
So,
man.
it's a phobia that's at a young age. So I feel like if we can bridge that gap, that can actually make a major difference.
Yeah, because I'm scared of dentists as well. I won't lie. I've also been avoiding trying to go to a dentist for a very long time. I I don't remember going to a dentist ever in my life. I think that's most of the common things. I think a lot of people can relate to me. Probably if you're at home and you can see this, you can relate to what I'm saying. I don't like going to a dentist as well, seeing that visit. Um, but I'm trying to overcome that fear. Do you have any advice in terms of how I can overcome that fear from going to a dentist?
So my advice to you would be, do not wait until you have bleeding gums where you're actually worried the bleeding is not stopping. Do not wait for that first severe toothache or that cavity that, makes you not sleep at night. I would say it's just in your best interest to take a leap of faith for yourself, okay? As much as I'm scared to be in a dental setting, I want to maintain and look after my teeth, my smile, and my gums, especially the gums. Cavities takes quite a while for them to develop. But a gum infection, on the other hand, that's something that it slowly progresses, and the moment it becomes really severe, you end up getting that periodontal disease, as I mentioned. And that's when, your teeth start being mobile, and then you lose the function to actually chew and speak well.
It is scary though to think about it because I mean we've grown up in the fact at quite an interesting thing that I was reading back then. I think it's a long time ago. I was reading quite an interesting study which says, the difference between white kids and black kids is that white people they teach their kids how to be confident in the sense of people are there to serve you. For example, dentists, doctors, police officers, they're there to serve you. And then with us, Utakokasi, you come from the hood and your parents will be like, hey, I'm going to call the doctor. I'm going to call. So we end up growing up with that fact that you need to be scared of these people. And we forget that, people like yourself are there to serve us. And we should be there, to honor those services at the end of the day as well, you know. And yeah, since we're talking about obviously a beautiful smile, I can see you've got nice teeth as well. Uh, Common foods that we should watch out for and foods that we should eat more often in order to build strong teeth and gums as well.
Good question, because as much as a medical doctor or nurse can tell you, or a dietitian rather, they can tell you to eat fruits, vegetables. I mean, they're healthy for the body, get your vitamins from there. However, there's some of those that are also, they have a negative impact on it. So let me start with the bad ones first, and then I'll go to the good ones. First and foremost, I would like to start with sugar. Ladies and gentlemen, sugar is the biggest enemy of your teeth. Literally, like I cannot emphasize that even more. Like sugar, whether it's sugar that you put in your tea, especially like avocado or timer, varata so we put in like 5, 6 teaspoons in the tea or coffee, and little do they know that that sugar over time is the one that actually progresses to causing cavity, right? So sugar, sweet, your chocolate, your sour, like candy as well. I would say sugar affects the teeth negatively in a sense where bacteria actually engulf the sugars, and then they metabolize it into acid. And then that acid now spreads onto the tooth, and then the decay starts. I mean, the tooth doesn't become black right away. It starts off as like chalky white, which is in the process called demineralization, meaning that there are minerals that have been removed from the tooth, mostly the fluoride. Fluoride, that's why most dentists recommend fluoride treatment. So fluoride is essential because it strengthens your teeth enamel, and that's the outer layer, which actually keeps the teeth white, strong, and healthy. So now, the more you ingest like sugar, over time, those bacteria, they metabolize the sugars into acid, and then they remove the fluoride over time. Also, acid. Acid is also bad for your teeth. So pineapple, your green apples, tomato as well. Those are also acidic foods. So we have to bear in mind that as much as we can love, having pineapple for breakfast or making a fruit salad, that it's also acidic. There's an acid concentration in that. Oranges as well. Sorry, I forgot to mention oranges, especially oranges. I'd say we just have to be aware that sugars and acid are actually harmful for our teeth. I mean, fruits are healthy, the juice is healthy too, but we can actually come to an agreement that to protect your teeth, but you don't want to neglect your diet, is certain measures or precautions that you can put in. For example, if you're having your energy drinks or your orange juices, you can drink them with a straw. Because if you notice, if you use a straw, the liquid actually passes the teeth and it actually goes all the way to the pharynx, throat, and then goes down the esophagus. So that's one way you can actually come around avoiding beverages having contact with the teeth. And then now coming to the good foods, I would say, well, I don't want to say anything that I didn't mention of the bad foods, but there are some foods that do contain fluoride, but just a minimal amount, like your green veggies and Oh, I forgot to mention as well, sorry. Carbohydrates, fermented carbohydrates, they also contribute to the process of cavity. So we have to ensure that potato chips, your Simba chips, Doritos, those are like fermented carbohydrates. So you want to actually try to also, I don't want to say limit eating them because I'm not really a dietitian. I can't tell you what to eat and what not to eat. But I can tell you what foods are good for you to eat and which ones are not. And also moderation is essential as well. So it's important that you tell your kids from a young age this type of information so that when they go to school, because I've seen with so many children that I've treated in the past. At home, the parents are strict. They say, okay, no snacks or sweets for you, etc. Mare, kawan ayah school, and then they end up buying it actually at school. And then I get it, the parents are not around, so they're like, okay, I'm just having like some snack time, because I can't eat at home. Also influence like around your peers. You might get somebody from a family where they're well educated in terms of art, and then there's somebody who does not know anything at all. So obviously, sometimes that influence plays a role as well.
And there's something that you mentioned when you first introduced yourself, and there's something which I think we can relate to in this podcast. When you said that growing up, you saw yourself that you didn't have much confidence because of your teeth and how your teeth looked like as well. There's something that you said. And how important do you think for parents to take note of that? Is that because I feel like also your teeth, it's something that kids, kids in primary, they diss each other a lot. Primary, high school, they play with words, and how important do you think that, parents should take this seriously? Because sometimes you get that parents don't want to take it seriously, but how important do you think that parents should take it seriously? Because sometimes as kids, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to tell their parents that they're going through that, or, or they need to see a dentist. But how important do you think that parents basically should take note of that?
It's really important to orientate your child to getting familiar with the dentist and the oral hygienist, because now you as a parent as well, there's that responsibility that you take that, okay, the moment something goes wrong in my child's mouth, like when the permanent teeth grow and then you see, okay, there's a bit of malalignment, they're not straight, at least, you got into the habit of taking your child to the dentist. So you wouldn't actually hesitate to say, okay, my child, I can see your smile is not so great. How about we just visit the dentist? So I feel like that's the first step they actually have to take. Whereas if you neglect that from the onset when they're still an infant or a toddler, at a later stage, it becomes hard to talk about it because now the child's self-esteem has already been damaged. I mean, bullying starts at primary, if I'm not to be mistaken. Sometimes kids. So if a child grows up with that, that's also trauma, and then as parents, you wonder sometimes why your child maybe becomes hesitant if you introduce wanting to go to a dentist because now they're not used to it and then they're also being bullied at school. So now imagine being bullied at school with regards to your teeth, and then your parents one day all of a sudden they say we can sit in the dentist. So I'd say it's actually important for parents to sit down with their children from a young age. And then, I mean, there's a lot of literature on the internet. You can even download pictures just from your children, etc. That, okay, this is like a nice smile. This is a smile that's not so nice. And then as the child grows up, then the permanent teeth already in the mouth. Once they see that, okay, no, something is actually not right here, then they take that responsibility to say, okay, child, we've been talking about oral hygiene measures. We told you about dentists. So do you think it's time we pay them a visit? I urge parents out there, or mothers who are currently expecting a child, to take their responsibility and, be there for their child from the onset, from the moment their teeth starts growing. To tell yourself, okay, my child's teeth until they actually get old enough are my priority.
100%. I like that, man. what's a routine that we can keep and parents can implement even for themselves, but also for their kids as well, teaching their kids to continue doing that routine in terms of washing their teeth? Because I know there's a specific way that you need to wash your teeth. Because I think one of them is washing your teeth. Is it clockwise or anti-clockwise? Clockwise, right? Correct. It's clockwise, right?
Well, I'll say circular motion. It could be anti-clockwise or clockwise, depending if you're right-handed or left-handed, for example. So for the oral hygiene measures, first and foremost, the brush, right? Brushing is very important. So it's important to brush 2 times a day, morning and in the
Yeah, this is so interesting. Thank you so much. This information is so much information, and I feel like we need it. I've learned so much from this as well. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. But probably if people want to get hold of you, maybe they want to connect with you or they want to ask you for advice as well. How can people get in touch with you in terms of social media, any social media handles? I know obviously giving out numbers is something which is private, but I think it's social media. I think it's very important. Maybe people want to link up with you, like asking you questions, advice as well. How can people get hold of you?
All right. So I am on Instagram, uh, Twitter, Facebook, then LinkedIn. If for LinkedIn, you can literally just it's my full name and surname. There's no underscore anything like that. They're on LinkedIn. I'm not too active there, but I do communicate where I can. And for Instagram, so it's at nation, like nation, but it's a double I underscore. It's like nation underscore set. And then for Twitter, it's brown skin, BROUN underscore SKII. And then I'm also on Facebook, but I really use that as a Riyama. You should find me there. And then those that want to email me, it's riyamamope@gmail.com.
100%. Really appreciate that information as well. And man, I've learned a lot from that as well. And hopefully people will be in touch, especially parents if they have any questions, or teachers as well. If they want to call you out and be like, hey man, please come through to the school and just teach a couple of these kids about how to, do certain things in terms of brushing our teeth and why it's important of, keeping our, about oral hygiene as well.
Yeah. And yes, I would say if there's anyone out there who has an outreach campaign, because we used to do it also at university, where we would go to like schools and all the age homes and just give education. We'd go there with like oral health day cards and just give education. I would say I'm more than willing to assist and be your guy. So feel free to call me or contact